With Airbnb, the name of the game is persistence. Whether it's a review dispute, claim against you, or a claim against a guest, be persistent. Don't take no for an answer. And we found that to be more times than not successful in getting your claim approved or defending yourself against the claim with a guest if you have the proper proof. That's the key.
This is the Fit Investor Podcast, where we talk about how to live a more holistic life of being fit, not only financially, but physically and faithfully. We'll be joined by experts in all these areas to share their experiences and actionable and practical tips so that you can be a fit investor too. So now let's join our hosts, Cale Delaney and Brenna Carls.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Fit Investor. I'm your host, Cale Delaney, and I'm coming to you with a special episode this week, actually from Florianópolis, Brazil, which is an island in the south of Brazil. They call it Floripa for short. And I am here for about a month, checking this place out, looking at some possible investment opportunities here. There is a pretty active short-term rental market. It's a big expat community here. People from all over the world come down here, a big tourism spot, not only for other people in Brazil and surrounding countries, but a lot of international visitors here as well. It's an interesting place. So far, haven't had the chance to explore a whole lot. For the week and a half or a little bit more than I've been here, it's been just raining all day long, every single day, unfortunately. But it started to clear up today, looking like it's supposed to be clear at least for a little bit longer here. So hopefully going to be exploring a bit more and checking things out. That being said, what I'm coming to you today with are some tips and tricks working with, particularly with Airbnb, but also for managing remotely. Here I am literally on the other side of the world in the southern hemisphere. So it's actually winter down here currently, and managing the properties remotely in the US, in Florida and Tennessee. And so I want to talk about that and also some strategies with working with Airbnb, in particular with damage claims or air cover claims. We've had a handful of these that we've been dealing with lately and we've had good success with. So I wanted to share some of the tips and tricks and strategies on how we have been able to have successful resolutions on these. I'm going to start it off with just managing remotely. And this goes back to the basics, the STR 101. And I know I've said many times, I much prefer managing remotely or investing remotely than locally. And the beauty of that is that you can literally do it from anywhere in the world. Investing 1 hour away from you is the same as investing half a world away from you or in your own backyard. If you set up the systems, you get your teams, the process is literally the same. And this, I'm just going to go through this really quickly because I know for most of you, this is going to be elementary, but really it comes down to, again, first steps is building your team, your cleaners and your handyman or maintenance team. Once you get those, what we call your boots on the ground, quote unquote, that's going to be really the core of things. They're going to be the ones handling the things in person. From there, you are going to be able to handle things remotely through the technology, through a phone or a computer. As long as you have an internet connection, you can take care of things. So you're going to have your PMS, your property management software, a dynamic pricing tool for your revenue and pricing strategies. And that's really it. That's really all you need. There's some other apps and things like that you can add on as you go and as you scale. But essentially, that's really all you need to run the short-term rental operations and do it well remotely. So you build your team, you get your softwares. Now, how do you do it with time changes? For here, thankfully, there's only a 1 hour time difference. So I'm 1 hour ahead of Eastern time, which is where my properties are. But I've done this from in Europe, where we are bouncing around from I think it was like a 6 to an 8 hour time difference, depending on where we were at the time. So that can be a little bit confusing, right? But again, same thing. Set up your systems and processes, automate as much as you possibly can. And once you get to a certain point that you can start bringing in additional help, such as virtual assistants, that is going to help you, especially if you're going to be traveling or in significantly different time zones and that type of thing. We currently do have 2 virtual assistants that we've hired on recently that are helping out. And so right now we have them online between the two from more or less 8 a.m. to I believe 8 p.m. 6 days a week. Wednesdays they don't work. They both take that day off. And with that, they're able to cover a majority of the stuff, guest messaging and things that come up during the day and the evening. I'm still actively involved since they're relatively new, but I'm still actively involved in checking on things. But it's a stopgap because especially when you get to a foreign country, you may not have service all the time. It may take you a little bit to get a new SIM card for your phone or something like that so you can get connected. You may just have intermittent opportunities to get connected depending on what you're doing and where you're traveling. And so having somebody that can fill in the gaps or when you're flying and that type of thing, that could still be online and available to handle the general operations of things is going to really help out on things. So that's really it in a nutshell. With that, you can, again, manage it remotely, travel, be in areas where you may have intermittent service. And once you do have a solid team of virtual assistants that really know the operations, really know the business, can really be independent, then of course you can be offline even more, right? Which is ultimately the goal, to get yourself out of the business. But the other thing is, like I mentioned, the strategies for dealing with particularly Airbnb and their air cover insurance or damage claim insurance, but also VRBO. And I'll touch on VRBO first, just because that one's going to be quick. So VRBO or Verbo actually gives you the opportunity or the option to choose whether you collect a security deposit from the guest that you can then file a claim on if needed, or require the guest to purchase damage insurance. I highly recommend have them required to buy the damage insurance. I found that it's quite easy to go through. They have paid out relatively quickly and relatively well, as long as you have all of the backup documentation and everything and can prove that it was a legitimate issue. So we've had to file, I think, 2, maybe 3 Verbo damage claims under their insurance. They use a company called Generali, which you can actually have people buy that independently through Generali. Or there's other companies like Safely, I believe Wavely as another one. There's a few of them. There's several of them out there, but Generali is the one that Verbo uses. Safely is a popular one that I know I've looked into, and I'll probably end up actually adding that on to Airbnb bookings as a requirement and direct bookings. Get into that a little bit, just because the third-party damage claim insurance, like I said, it's easier to work through. It helps, depending on the company, it helps remove the guest from the situation. Because that's one of the biggest challenges when you're doing damage claims, right? Is you don't want the guests to get upset, which they probably are going to, and they're probably going to deny it and decline, right? And then maybe out of retaliation, leave you a bad review, or sometimes they could even try to file a claim against you to get some money back. So it can cause a bit of a mess, right? So going through third-party insurance, and some are better than others, helps remove the guest from the situation a little bit and doesn't come out of their pocket, which is the main thing, right? That's when they get upset, it's out of their pocket. So doing that is a great option to help remove that fear of retaliation and submitting claims. But again, going through Verbo and their Generali damage claim insurance has been a relatively smooth process. You do need to read through what they do cover. One of the things that I had found is that if the damage is in relation to a violation of the house rules, it is not covered. For example, if no smoking is part of the house rules and a guest smokes and they cause smoking remediation that needs because they smoke inside, or let's say you leave cigarette burns on some furniture or something like that, would not be covered because it was a violation of the house rules. So you got to be cognizant of that and a little bit careful of that, and maybe how you provide the documentation or word the claim or a word your house rules as well. So something to think about. But other than that, they've been pretty good. Like we had some damage for some patio furniture, and the recent one was a plumbing issue, I guess, that caused a severe clog, and it was about like $600 worth of plumbing fees and cleaning fees for getting somebody out there to address it. But they paid it and no issue. Now, Airbnb. So they have their damage insurance in-house. I guess it's in-house, called Air Cover. If done right, and if you have an ironclad case, it works well. One of the big challenges, though, is that it does directly involve the guest. That when you file an air cover claim, it actually immediately goes to the guest first. And the guest has 24 hours to either approve or decline it. So the guest is going to know right away. They're probably going to get upset. And that's when you risk the retaliation. First step with dealing with an air cover claim is, number one, use your PMS to tag the review to not go out until the very last minute. Unless you see that the guest has already left you a review, then go ahead and send yours, and you're probably better that way. Otherwise, just tag the review to have it delayed to the very last minute on the 14th day, right? Then set yourself a reminder to file the claim on that 14th day, either right before or right after your review goes out. And you can do it on the 14th. It just has to be on the 14th day. So it doesn't necessarily need to be by the time that review goes out on the 14th day. It just has to be on the 14th day. And so set yourself a reminder, though. Now, you also want to start the claim prior to that, just in case. And not to say that this would work, but at least it gives you a little bit of ground to stand on, perhaps for fighting it. If maybe you missed that 14th day, but you had started the claim prior and saved it, then again, maybe you have something to stand on with Airbnb to say, hey, we had started this claim prior. Yes, we didn't submit it on time, but maybe you can work something out there. But do your best, submit it on the 14th day, start it before that. And so you submit it on the 14th day again to try to mitigate some of that retaliation possibility, at least with the review portion. Then it will go out to the guests. They have 24 hours to respond, and most likely they'll decline it, right? Unless they're a conscientious guest. They have integrity and they realize they did cause the damage, and maybe they'll pay, but probably not. Then it gives you the option if they decline it, or maybe they don't agree to pay the full value of what you were claiming. Then you have the option to involve Airbnb. So you'll involve Airbnb, and you'll have an opportunity again to give them any other additional information. So actually take it a step back. When you submit the claim, you want this to be as ironclad and black and white and clear as possible. So you're going to need pictures of before the damage, pictures after the damage. Okay, very critical. If you do not have pictures before showing it wasn't damaged prior to this guest, you are setting yourself up to be denied. Not that you can't still win, but you're going to make it much harder. See, you want to have your cleaners taking pictures of every single clean. Very important. So you get your pictures before, get your pictures after the damage or showing the damage. Then you're going to get your invoices. All right. So whatever they may be for, and I'll use this plumbing situation. So I had another plumbing situation that was filed through air cover. This is a very pricey one. This is almost $1,000 between the plumber, the cleaner, handyman. It was, again, just another severe clog that we found out was from the guest washing wipes. And we had sent, just to give you a quick recap on it, guests had said, hey, we've got a clogged toilet. Okay, we'll send someone out, take care of it. And if it was a minor clog or something like that, we're probably not even going to charge them or something. But we sent our handyman out first, assuming it was just with a plunger or a snake, we didn't get it.
Hey guys, it's Brenna Carl, CEO and co-founder of The Mortgage Shop. When I'm not spending my time searching for the best pizza in town, working out, well, because of pizza, or fighting sharks as Cale likes to say, I spend my time educating clients on the best investment products that will help them build generational wealth and making sure their loan process is as smooth as warm butter on a piece of toast. Call us today to get started with your investment journey at 800-816-7982 or, to talk more about pizza. Talk to you soon.
Handyman went out, spent a couple hours out there. They couldn't get it. Actually, it made it worse. And they were plunging, and through doing that, actually pushed the clog further down the line, causing water backups and actually water seeping out through the piping, the plumbing in between the floors, and causing water leaking down underneath the floors now. So bigger mess. They also had not only the clog, but prior to this, they had the clog and water backing up in the showers and the sink drains, right? So this clog was pretty severe. So then we called the plumber. This is after hours. The plumber goes out. They spent, I think it was 3 or 4 hours there. They tried their standard household snakes and stuff like that. Then they had to bring out their big dog, their commercial snakes, which heavy duty. These things can go far, and they use a retriever head. So whenever you have a plumber go out for a clog, ask them to use a retriever head so they can retrieve whatever was the root cause of the clog, right? So that you have proof to show if you have to file a claim. and have them take lots of pictures again. So they did that. They found the wipes. After several hours, they were able to get it unclogged. And then we had to send our cleaners out there because, again, we had this mess. Water was, leaking heavily from the floors down onto the floor below, mess in the bathrooms. So we sent our cleaners out there to clean up. So yeah, it ended up being almost $1,000 for this thing. So we got it cleared up. The guests finished their stay, and this was a sizable booking. And I think it was about a week long. They finished their stay, whatever. They had a great time. They left a 5-star review. Great. They left the review prior to the 14th days, which was excellent. We still held ours off until going out on the 14th day, and we submitted the claim on that 14th day after they'd already left us a 5-star review. So they declined it. Naturally, I figured. And it went to AirCover. We involved Airbnb, and we provided the proof. So we sent all the pictures from the plumber that they sent. We also made sure that the plumber indicates on their invoice, they have to indicate clearly what the cause of the problem was. And if they were able to determine that it was clearly from that guest, or if it was something that could have been there prior, right? So this is clearly from the guest. This happened in the middle of their stay. There's everything, all the plumbing was fine when they arrived. Halfway through their stay, all of a sudden there's a severe clog. Obviously it's from that. So the plumber indicated all that clearly on his invoice. The invoice also has to have the company letterhead or logo with all their information. And Airbnb is getting really picky now. Even with that, they're asking for a website for the company. So in this market, in the Smokies, a lot of handymen don't have websites. They're back of the pickup truck handyman. That's just what's out there, which is fine. You're lucky to get them to actually write you a nice formal invoice with their letterhead and logo and everything. We submitted the invoice with their letterhead, their logo, the detailed incident report on there, all the costs, same thing from our cleaners and our handyman, and sent that in to Airbnb. It took them about 3 or 4 days to get back to us, which you can follow up in the meantime. Following up before they give an initial response probably isn't going to do much. But after they give their initial response to saying, hey, we're reviewing this, then it doesn't hurt to be persistent and follow up with them maybe every day or every other day at least to check in. And we always just ask, hey, do you need anything else from us before making your determination? And they came back and they said, hey, thank you for all the information, but we're missing this. We need first, it was funny, I didn't really understand it, but they were asking, hey, we need an invoice with the company's information on it, their logo and letterhead. I said, we've already submitted that. And I sent it to him again in the email chain. They said, we still need a website for the company. So they don't have a website. They said, I'm sorry, if you don't have a link for a website for this company, then we can't approve this. I said, okay, well, this is new. I haven't run into this before. So I reached out to the handyman and said, hey, do you guys have a website? And they're like, no, we don't have a website. We can give you our tax information, everything, show you we're a legitimate company. They said, hey, but we do have a Facebook page for our business. Okay, let me try that. So I took their Facebook page link and I sent that to Airbnb. And after a few back and forth, Airbnb did accept it. So you can use a Facebook website or a business page for the company's website. After we finally submitted that, went back and forth. This one took about 2 weeks from the time we submitted it to the time they actually approved it, which they did approve it. And they approved it in full with the exception of one thing, which I'll touch on. So with our cleaners, we had sent the cleaners out to clean up everything, right? And then they also swapped out the towels because they used all the towels to clean up the mess that was there. And so they brought a fresh batch of towels. Well, they broke it down on their invoice, the cleanup portion and a portion for swapping towels. Airbnb didn't approve the swapping the towels. Said that's not related to the damage, even though it is. And so we're not approving that. It was like $30 out of the $900 or whatever it was. I wasn't going to mess with it too much, but it was a lesson learned of, okay, when your cleaner writes the invoice, don't have them break it out like that. Just put it all under, and calling it whatever, excessive cleanup due to guest damage or whatever the issue may be. So things have to be really explicit with Airbnb on the invoices that you send, that it was related to the damage, that it was caused by the guest. Otherwise, you run the risk of probably not getting it approved. So we were successful on that one. And the one with through Virgo. All right. And we've had some other damage claims for some other stuff. Somebody damaged a door, somebody damaged a bed, all these things again. And we've been successful in getting the claims approved. It does take a lot of back and forth with air cover. It does take a lot of persistence. And if you get no for an answer, just like their review disputes and things like that, ask to escalate it. Ask to escalate it to a supervisor and be persistent, and do not take no for an answer, and just be persistent. And we found that we've been able to be successful in doing it that way, and eventually getting the claims approved. Another thing here, situation we had that may be helpful is we actually had a guest submit a claim against us for an alleged cleaning issue, which we were pretty confident there wasn't an issue. The guest sent some pictures to us. Honestly, you couldn't see what the issue was in the pictures. I think they were claiming, what was it? Gosh, what was it? I think they were saying, hey, your shower liner is dirty. And what else? Something, they're both like really minor things. And again, the pictures that they sent weren't anything that I could really tell that was wrong. And they had said, hey, we're just letting you know. So I was like, oh, okay. All right. Hey, sorry about that. Blah, blah, blah. The guest checked out, and then they sent a claim to Airbnb. Yep, happens. And Airbnb, it was funny. Airbnb sent us an email or a message saying, hey, your guest submitted this claim. We'd like to hear your side. You have 24 hours to respond. And then 10 minutes later, they sent another message saying, hey, we've made a determination. We're giving the guest a refund. This falls under our refund and relocation policy, blah, blah, blah. It was a couple $100. And I didn't see their initial messages until a little bit later. And so I saw that and I was, okay, that's odd. So I responded right away. As soon as I saw that, I said, hey, number one, thanks for letting us know. But number two, your first message said we have 24 hours to respond and give you our documentation. But then almost immediately, you made your own determination and determined on a refund. I said, we disagree with this. We want this escalated to a supervisor because you didn't follow your policies in providing us that time to defend the claim. And here is all our proof. So we sent them, I think, 12 or 15 pictures of the clean prior to the guest. And they responded saying, hey, thank you for sending the information. We didn't have to give you 24 hours notice, actually, because it falls under this guest refund and relocation policy due to cleaning issues, whatever. So I disagree with that. You clearly sent me a message saying we had 24 hours. So again, we want this escalated to a supervisor. And again, we are providing the documentation of the clean showing that there was no issues. And it's okay, we'll escalate it. Also, we want you want us to send you pictures after the guest checked out. Okay, no problem. We'll send you the pictures after our cleaners clean after the checkout. We sent them another dozen or so pictures. And a little back and forth, finally got it escalated to a supervisor. And they came back and said, hey, we're sorry. As a consolation, we're going to reimburse you for that initial refund that we made a determination on. So again, persistence. With Airbnb, the name of the game is persistence. Whether it's a review dispute, claim against you, or a claim against a guest, be persistent. Don't take no for an answer. And we found that to be more times than not successful in getting your claim approved or defending yourself against the claim with a guest if you have the proper proof. That's the key. If you do not have the proper proof, an ironclad case, documents, pictures, invoices, etc., you will lose. So make sure you have all that. And with that, it's just part of the business. It's a little bit frustrating having to go back and forth and all that stuff, deal with it, but it does work if you do it right. Just take that for what it's worth. Another tip that I saw from somebody on Facebook, which I'm going to start implementing as well, is if you have a co-hosting or property management company, you can create an invoice under your management company that includes whatever the various invoices would be from, let's just say, the plumber, the cleaner, or the handyman, etc. And you can mark it up for your time as well. And you can submit that as your backup, as your proof or your invoice for the claim. So that it can, with a markup and whatever, you can get reimbursed for your time, because this does take your time, right? Which has a cost to it. So I thought it was a great idea. Now, of course, you're going to follow all the guidelines. You're going to have a proper invoice. It's going to have your letterhead, your logo, all your business information, and you're going to have to provide, more than likely, a business website. So whether it's an actual website you have or a Facebook business page, right? So you're going to have to provide all the same documentation, same proof and everything, but it's a way that perhaps can allow you to get reimbursed for your time that you otherwise would not get reimbursed for. Just another tip and trick for dealing with claims. Both that should work both with Airbnb air cover and third-party damage insurance claims as well. So hope that was helpful. Just some things that I've been going through here over these past few weeks. Figured I'd share with the team and the community here. And I hope you guys take some of those tips and tricks and use them to help you out as well. And yeah, that is what I wanted to share. I hope you guys enjoy that. Hope it helps. And I will be seeing you next week on another episode. And I will be back in the States in another couple weeks in August. All right. Take care, Fit Investors, and see you again for another episode next week.